The coffee mug hit the kitchen wall with a satisfying crack, leaving a brown stain that would probably outlast my marriage. Julia stood there, perfectly manicured hands on her hips, looking like she'd just stepped out of a magazine shoot even at 7 in the morning. "You're pathetic, Tom," she said, her voice dripping with the kind of contempt usually reserved for roadkill. "Absolutely pathetic. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I'm Tom Harding, 45 years old, and I fix computers for a living. Not exactly the stuff of action movies, but it pays the bills and keeps me sharp. What it doesn't do is impress my wife Julia, who works in PR for Pinnacle Luxury Realty and thinks she's God's gift to the real estate world. "What exactly makes me pathetic this time?" I asked, wiping coffee splatter from my shirt. "The fact that I noticed you coming home at 2 a.m. smelling like another man's cologne? Or the fact that I actually care?" Julia's laugh was like ice cracking. "If you're jealous, that's on you, Tom. Maybe if you spent less time playing with computers and more time at the gym, you'd understand why a woman might look elsewhere." That stung, but I'd learned to hide it. 20 years of marriage teaches you a few things about emotional warfare. Julia had been pulling away for months, working late, taking mysterious phone calls, and treating me like I was invisible. But last night, when she stumbled in reeking of expensive aftershave, something inside me finally snapped. "So you admit it," I said quietly. "There is someone else." She rolled her eyes. "There's always someone else, Tom. The question is whether you're man enough to do anything about it." After she left for work in her BMW, I sat in our pristine kitchen, staring at the coffee stain. Our house was Julia's pride and joy, a showcase of her success, she called it. Every piece of furniture carefully chosen, every room designed to impress. I was just another accessory, like the crystal vases and abstract art she'd scattered around. My phone buzzed. A text from my old friend Raylin Murphy, ex-cop turned private investigator. "Coffee later? Got something to show you." Ray had been warning me about Julia for months. As a PI, he had instincts about people, and Julia had always set off his alarm bells. I'd brushed off his concerns, loyal husband that I was. Now I wondered if I should have listened. That afternoon, Ray slid a manila envelope across the diner table. "I wasn't snooping," he said, his weathered face serious. "But Julia's not exactly being discreet." Inside were photos. Julia at expensive restaurants with Brent Ferris, her colleague from Pinnacle Realty. Brent was everything I wasn't. Tall, muscular, drove a Porsche Cayenne, and had the kind of stubble that looked effortlessly perfect. The photos showed them holding hands, kissing, and in one particularly damning shot, entering a hotel together. "How long?" I asked. "At least 3 months that I can prove," Ray said. "Tom, there's more. She's been telling people you're unstable, setting up a narrative." My hands shook as I looked through the photos. 20 years of marriage, and this is what it came to. But what really burned was the humiliation. Julia parading around town with her boy toy while I played the oblivious husband. That evening, I confronted her. She was in our bedroom, getting ready for another work dinner. "Nice photos," I said, tossing them on the bed. Julia barely glanced at them. "So? What are you going to do about it, Tom? Cry? File for divorce and lose half of everything? Face it, you need me more than I need you." "Everyone cheats, right?" I said, remembering her words from that morning. She shrugged. "Everyone with options." That night, after Julia left for her dinner, I made a decision. I opened her laptop, she'd never bothered changing the password, and found what I was looking for. Dozens of explicit photos she'd been sending to Brent, along with detailed messages about their encounters. Julia had always been proud of her body, and apparently she enjoyed documenting their affair in vivid detail. I forwarded everything to Erica Ferris, Brent's wife. The explosion was immediate and spectacular. Erica Ferris wasn't just any scorned wife. She was a socialite with connections, money, and a vindictive streak that made Julia look like an amateur. Within hours of receiving the photos, she'd posted them on every social media platform she could find, along with a detailed account of her husband's infidelity. "Homewrecker alert," read her Facebook post, complete with Julia's professional headshot. "This is Julia Harding from Pinnacle Realty. She's been screwing my husband and sending him photos like these." The post had over 300 shares by morning. Julia's phone started ringing at 6 a.m. By the time she realized what had happened, her professional reputation was in free fall. Pinnacle Realty's clients didn't appreciate their high-end properties being associated with sex scandals. "You bastard," she hissed when she confronted me. "You absolute bastard. Do you have any idea what you've done?" "I shared some photos," I said calmly. "I thought Erica deserved to know what kind of man she was married to. If you're embarrassed, that's on you." Julia's face went white with rage. "You think this is funny? You think you've won something? I'll destroy you, Tom. I'll take everything." She wasn't bluffing. Over the next week, Julia launched a campaign to paint me as an abusive, unstable husband. She told anyone who would listen that I'd been threatening her, that she feared for her safety, that the photo incident was just the latest in a pattern of controlling behavior. My sister Karen, a lawyer, warned me to be careful. "She's building a case," she said during our lunch meeting. "Domestic violence allegations, claims of harassment. She's trying to set you up for a divorce where she gets everything and you get supervised visitation with your reputation." But Julia had made one crucial mistake. She'd underestimated me. 20 years in tech support teaches you patience, attention to detail, and how to think several steps ahead. While she was busy playing victim, I was gathering evidence. Ray helped me document everything. Julia's late-night returns, her meetings with divorce lawyers, her continued affair with Brent despite the scandal. We recorded her threatening me, captured her admitting to friends that she was playing the abuse card to secure a better settlement. The turning point came when Brent showed up at my office. He strutted into the IT department like he owned the place, his designer suit and perfect hair drawing stares from my co-workers. "We need to talk," he said, his voice carrying that entitled tone I'd grown to hate. In the parking garage, Brent got straight to the point. "You're going to back off, Tom. Stop the games, give Julia the divorce she wants, and disappear quietly. Otherwise, things are going to get very unpleasant for you." "Is that a threat?" I asked. He smiled, showing perfect teeth. "It's a promise. You're out of your league here, buddy. Julia and I have plans, and you're not part of them." To emphasize his point, he dragged his keys along the side of my Honda Civic, leaving a deep scratch in the paint. "Oops," he said with a laugh. Something inside me snapped. Before I knew it, my hand was across his face, the slap echoing through the garage. Brent stumbled backward, more shocked than hurt. "Touch my life again," I said quietly, "and I'll take everything you love, starting with your reputation." Brent rubbed his cheek, his perfect composure cracking. "You're going to regret this, you pathetic little man." But as he walked away, I noticed something. His hands were shaking. For all his bluster, Brent was used to intimidating people with words and money, not actual confrontation. That gave me an idea. That night, I put my plan into motion. If Julia and Brent wanted to play dirty, I'd show them what dirty really looked like. The beauty of revenge, I discovered, is in the details. While Julia and Brent were busy planning my downfall, I was orchestrating theirs with the precision of a chess grandmaster. First, I fed information to Tessa Crawford, Julia's former best friend who ran a popular gossip blog called City Secrets. Tessa had turned on Julia after the photo scandal, realizing that her association with a homewrecker wasn't good for her brand. She was hungry for dirt, and I had plenty to share. Anonymous tip, I told her over coffee, sliding an envelope across the table. Brent Ferris has been using company resources to wine and dine his mistress. Expense reports, credit card statements, hotel receipts, all charged to Pinnacle Realty. Tessa's eyes lit up. This is gold. The luxury real estate world loves a good scandal. Her blog post went live the next morning. Luxury Realtor's expensive affair, how Brent Ferris spent company money on his side piece. The post included detailed financial records showing thousands of dollars in questionable expenses, all coinciding with Julia and Brent's affair timeline. But that was just the opening move. The real game began when I started targeting their professional lives systematically. I anonymously contacted Pinnacle Realty's biggest client, a property development company worth millions. I shared evidence that Julia had been leaking confidential information to competitors, information I'd carefully fabricated using her own email account. The client pulled their contract immediately. For Brent, I went after his pride and joy, that Porsche Cayenne he loved so much. I called in a fake repo notice, claiming he'd missed payments. While he was at a client meeting, a tow truck arrived and hauled his car away. The whole thing was filmed by concerned neighbors and posted on social media with the caption, "Homewrecker gets towed." But my masterpiece was the open house sabotage. Brent was showing $1 million property to potential buyers when I struck. I'd spent weeks preparing, stink bombs hidden in the vents, flyers detailing his affair scattered throughout the house, and a sound system programmed to play recordings of his most intimate conversations with Julia at maximum volume. The chaos was beautiful. Potential buyers fled as the house filled with the smell of rotten eggs and the sound of Brent describing Julia's body in graphic detail. The whole thing was live-streamed by a prospective buyer, actually Ray, with a hidden camera. By the end of the week, both Julia and Brent were unemployed. Pinnacle Realty had fired them both, citing conduct detrimental to the company's reputation. Julia's PR career was over. No firm would touch her after the scandal. Brent couldn't get a job selling used cars, let alone luxury real estate. But they weren't finished fighting. Cornered animals are the most dangerous, and Julia and Brent were about to prove just how vicious they could be. The confrontation came at my office again. This time, Julia was with him, her perfectly styled hair slightly disheveled, her designer clothes wrinkled. They'd clearly been drinking. "You think you're so clever," Julia spat, throwing a cup of coffee at me. The hot liquid splashed across my shirt, but I didn't flinch. My co-workers gathered around, phones out, recording everything. "Sorry," I said loudly, looking at my boss. "My stalker's back." Julia's face went purple with rage. "Stalker? You destroyed our lives, you psychotic freak." "I shared some photos and made some phone calls," I replied calmly. "If your lives are destroyed, maybe you should examine your life choices." Security escorted them out, but not before Julia screamed threats that everyone heard and recorded. She'd just provided me with perfect evidence of harassment and disturbing the peace. That evening, Brent made his final desperate play. He called me, his voice slurred with alcohol and desperation. "I have photos," he said. "Doctored evidence showing you hitting Julia. I have witnesses who'll swear you threatened her. Give us $50,000 or I release everything." I smiled as I recorded the call. "Is that blackmail, Brent?" "It's survival," he replied. "Pay up or we destroy you the way you destroyed us." "Interesting," I said. "Hold that thought." I hung up and immediately forwarded the recording to the police, Brent's former boss, and Erica Ferris. Blackmail is a felony, and Brent had just confessed to it on tape. The final act was about to begin. The showdown came on a cold February evening. Julia and Brent, desperate and cornered, made one last play for my money. They'd discovered that I'd been moving our joint assets into accounts they couldn't access, perfectly legal moves that Karen had helped me orchestrate. They showed up at my apartment building, demanding access to their money. But I was ready for them. Ray and I had spent days preparing. Hidden cameras, audio equipment, and a live stream setup that would broadcast everything to social media. If Julia and Brent wanted a final confrontation, I'd give them one they'd never forget. "Tom," Julia pounded on my door. "Open up. We know you're in there." I opened the door with a smile. "Julia, Brent, what a pleasant surprise. Come in, please." They pushed past me into my apartment, not noticing the cameras Ray had hidden throughout the room. The live stream was already running, broadcasting to hundreds of viewers who'd been following the drama through Tessa's blog. "We want our money," Brent demanded, his perfect hair disheveled, his designer clothes wrinkled and stained. "Your money?" I laughed. "What money would that be?" "The joint accounts, the savings, everything," Julia said. "You can't just steal from us." "I haven't stolen anything," I replied calmly. "I've simply protected my assets from a wife who was planning to frame me for domestic violence and a man who tried to blackmail me. Speaking of which..." I pulled out my phone and played Brent's blackmail call. His face went white as his own voice filled the room, clearly demanding $50,000 in exchange for not releasing doctored evidence. That's not what it sounds like," Brent stammered. "Really? Because it sounds like felony blackmail to me. The police seem to agree. They're on their way up." Julia lunged at me, her manicured nails aimed at my face. I sidestepped easily and she crashed into the coffee table. Ray emerged from the bedroom, grinning. "Assault on camera," he said cheerfully. "This keeps getting better." Brent tried to run, but the apartment door was locked. In his panic, he threw himself against it, bouncing off like a pinball. The live stream viewers were eating it up, the comment section exploding with laughter and shocked reactions. "You can't do this to us!" Julia screamed from the floor. "We had plans! We were going to be together!" "You were going to be together," I agreed. "In matching orange jumpsuits, probably." The police arrived just as Brent was trying to escape through the balcony door. They found him hanging from the fire escape in his underwear. He'd somehow lost his pants in the struggle. The image of the formerly sophisticated realtor dangling half-naked from a building while police officers laughed below became an instant internet meme. Julia was arrested for assault and disturbing the peace. Brent faced charges for blackmail, harassment, and public indecency. Their mugshots, particularly Brent's pantsless booking photo, went viral within hours. As I stood on my balcony, watching the police cars disappear into the night, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years: complete satisfaction. Julia and Brent had lost everything: their jobs, their reputations, their freedom, and their dignity. They'd tried to destroy me and ended up destroying themselves. My phone buzzed with a text from Brent Ferris. "Thank you for helping take out the trash. Drink sometime?" I looked out at the city lights flickering below, a new man forged in the fire of betrayal and revenge. Julia had been right about one thing: if you're jealous, that's on you. But if you're ruined, that's on me. The end. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city you are watching.